আসসালামু আলাইকুম প্রিয় দর্শকবৃন্দ, আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি নর্দার্ন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ইংরেজি বিভাগ কর্তৃক আয়োজিত আজকের এই ওয়েবিনারে। আপনারা জানেন যে each and every week we arrange a webinar in different subjects. Especially recently we have arranged a number of series of webinars on research in higher education. Today we have selected, our title is how to write a research proposal. And on this webinar, the honorable chief guest is Professor Dr. Mohshin, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Northern University, Bangladesh. I welcome him. So hopefully you're well. At the same time, as a keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Mohshin Reza. Actually, he is known, well known, Professor Dr. Mohshin Reza. So he is working at this time at Bangladesh University of Professionals, and moreover he is working in the research center of Bangladesh University of Professionals. He is the additional editor of Journal of Bangladesh BUP, and moreover he is working in different research centers. Especially he is one of the members, research associate of Bangabandhu Chair of Bangladesh University of Professionals. We feel honored as he has given his consent to talk on these issues, and at the same time our colleagues, our students, and a number of people have joined with us. I request all of you, after the conversation or after the opinion or the speech of Professor Dr. Mohshin Reza, if you have any queries, any questions, you can ask it directly, and until then you should wait. And at the very beginning, I would like to Professor Dr. Mohshin, sir, please to say something on this topic, sir. Sir, please.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jashin, Honorable Head of the Department, or Chairman of the Department of English of Northern University of Bangladesh, respected guest speaker today, Dr. Mohshin Reza, and other fellow colleagues and my dear students. It is indeed a great pleasure to be invited to an occasion where research will be a subject matter, which is I'm very much passionate about research and publication. And throughout my teaching career, I have been pursuing this research and publication in a very, very, what I will say, simplistic way, but with a lot of enthusiasm and zeal. I always encourage research and publication everywhere, wherever I served. And I think this is the basic for an academics, because a university has got three distinct functions. One is teaching, another is researching or creating knowledge, another one is disseminating knowledge through publications. So I'm really proud that our English department of Northern University of Bangladesh is not only excelling in teaching courses and curriculum, but also taking interest into research. And to go for a research, especially in the social science and literature discipline, language discipline, you know, there are different methods, techniques, and strategies to pursue a research proposal. The first thing that a researcher should look into while he's going to write a research proposal is to look into the topic that he wants to select for research. Whether the topic is research, I don't want to elaborate because our guest speaker will be elaborating on this. My point is that he has to select and find a topic which is worth researching. He should not take a research which is a lifetime work. Many students, many scholars, I think, find in a kind of temptation where they want to bring in everything in one research project. So that's it's a very dangerous policy or way. Then you have to think of the way you are going to define the terms or terminology that you use in your research proposal or in your hypothesis or the causal connection that you would like to establish the link. Because by operationalizing terms, I mean to say that a simple term in English may have different types of meaning. And in a particular research program proposal, what is the specific meaning you are going to attach to this particular term? So in that case, you have to say, if you say medieval literature, so what is the definition of medieval literature, the boundary of it? That has to be operationalized in your research proposal. If you are going to cutting some ice in a particular difficult area, then you have to also come up with the definitional limitation, what I call the conceptual model. Once you have the conceptual model established, having a relationship that you would like to establish and the kind of truth that you are going to search for, only then you will come up with the literature survey and also the methodology, the other issues that you are going to have. And unless if you talk about the constants and also the kind of delimitation of your research boundary and the objectives that you have to come up with a very basic thing with the topic and also the other functional issues, I think a researcher will have a very comfortable sway on his topic if he can come up with the research structure or research design, which is very fundamental to any research proposal. I think that should be enough for the beginning or cutting the ice in the beginning. And then there are issues of bibliography, there is issue of annotation, there is issues of other ways of, substantiating your proposal through, methodological rigor, which is very important. Let's now hear to the go to our keynote speaker. I think he'll be elaborating on this issue very, very thoroughly. We'll be simply listening. I have come to just grace the occasion and to learn a lot from our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we'll come back again. We'll come back to you again after his speech. Now, I'd like to request our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Mohshin Reza. Please, you can start your presentation or your speech. And we are eagerly waiting, and our students and colleagues, they are also eagerly waiting for your speech. Professor Dr. Mohshin Reza.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all. Let me first thank you all for inviting me here to speak on how to write a research proposal. For the first, I want to thank, for my heartfelt thanks to the esteemed Vice Chancellor of Northern University of Bangladesh, Professor Dr. Mohshin Sir, respected head of the Department of English of Northern University, Mohshin Sir, and all esteemed faculty members of School of Arts and Social Science, I think. However, today I'm really feeling greatly honored to become a speaker here, to speak a few words and share something with you on how to write a research proposal. Am I clear? Am I audible to all? Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes, please.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. Actually, research, what research is, by research, the very word, we know that inside the very word there are some phonons, re and search, the prefix is re, and there is the very word search. Search is the thirst for knowledge and the unquenchable thirst and hunger of knowledge. And human beings from the very primitive time of Adam and Eve in the paradise in Jannatul Adn, when they had the inquisitiveness that beyond ourselves there may be remaining something. The inquisitiveness, which is unquenchable thirst, that man is not a Homo sapiens. Man is a humankind. Man is mankind. Man is a human being.
Got to search and search again and search again and search again. When man was dying in plague in the 14th century during the Black Death, the people thought that it's nothing but a fatal force that is coming from the outer stellar regions and killing us. In 1943, when Alexander Fleming discovered the antidote, antibiotic, the plague disease was being faced with the antidotes. Antibiotics arrived, and it was removed slowly. During the decade of 50s, after Second World War, when we, the Bengali people, were suffering from fever. We went to the doctors, and the doctors gave us a kind of medicine called quinine, a kind of tetracycline, quinine. And we are recovered from the fever, from the temperature. After 10 years, again we are suffering from fever and went to the same doctor, asking him for a medicine, asking him for a quinine. The doctor said, no, sir, quinine has been banned forever. It was highly harmful for your body. A new medicine has replaced it. Its name is penetrate tablet. To reduce your fever and temperature, you have to take penetrate, not quinine. Quinine was true in 1950, but quinine has been proved false in 1960, and it has been replaced by penetrate. In 1970, when I am again suffering from fever and going to the same doctor and asking him for a penetrate tablet, he said, no, sir, penetrate has been banned. And you can have a new tablet, which is very good, much better than penetrate. Penetrate has been banned forever. Please don't have it in your pocket. You will be in the jail because it has been banned by World Health Organization. Now a new thing has arrived. It is Cotrim. You can take Cotrim to reduce your temperature. During the 80s, when I am again falling in fever and going to the same doctor and asking for a Cotrim tablet to reduce my temperature, he is saying, no, Cotrim has already been banned. Please don't ask for it. Don't name it even. It is banned. You will be in jail. We have discovered another new thing, which is called paracetamol. And nowadays, paracetamol is no longer purchased in the shops of the medicines. We are going to buy Napa Extend, Napa Extra. Then, is the truth always flexible? Is truth always moving from one place to another? Is truth too much relative? Is truth not constant? Does truth fluctuate? Does truth remain as a mirage? Is truth an illusion? No. Truth is not an illusion. Truth is not a mirage. Truth is not magic. Truth is not changing. Human ignorance is changing. Human being always living into an infinite ocean, infinite and unlimited ocean of darkness, of ignorance. We are drowned into an infinite ocean of darkness, of ignorance. And sometimes we are throwing a little light over this unlimited ocean of darkness and trying to push back the border of the darkness a little bit, just like the tip of a pin. The very teeny area which has been enlightened, from where the darkness has been pushed back, and this enlightened area is thrown with the light, there we can see a truth. But when the light is expanded, more light is thrown over the horizon, when the border of the darkness is being more and more pushed back, it is going backward and backward and backward, the more and more light is thrown, then truth is being revealed inch by inch. And thus, truth is not changing, the status of our mind is changing. The status of our knowledge is changing. And the process through which we throw the light on the darkness of ignorance is called research. Search again, you will find a little bit of light. Now search again anymore. then search again anymore. In 1950, you have searched and you got tetracycline or quinine. In 1960, you searched again and you found that quinine was very critical. It is helping you, but still it is harming you. So during 60, you have got also more finer, better remedies, and you got penetrate. In 1970, you got trim. In 1980s, you got paracetamol. In 1990s, you got Napa. In 2000, you got Napa Extend. 2020, you are in the age of Napa Extra. The days are passing, the lights are being thrown more and more. Truth is being revealed more and more. Truth doesn't change. Truth can never be completely exposed. Truth can never be completely shown. Truth can never be completely discovered, because truth, extreme truth, is nothing but the final one. Maybe he is the creator. So man, the modern science can go nearer to the truth. It can never find out the entire body of the truth. The process through the systematic process through which we throw the light on the darkness and try to find out the truth is called research, or recurrent search, searching again and again and again and again for an unlimited period of time. It is a continuous process. That is research. As long as human being will survive, human being will continue knowing it, exploring it, and gathering the idea, conception, and comprehension of the truth. However, our today's topic is how to write a research proposal. A research proposal is a step ahead. A research proposal is a step before you are going to conduct a research work. When we are supposed to conduct a research work, we are supposed to be registered in a certain organization. It may be a university, it may be a department, it may be a research institute or anywhere else. And to the institute, to the organization, to the certain department, we have to submit a proposal of a research. The research proposal is a kind of plan design through which we are supposed to present a tentative design of a research plan. And we have to propose for an approval that our research proposal should be allowed, and research proposal should be recommended, and the research should be allowed to be conducted by the authority formally. And that is why we have to write a proposal at first. The proposal has to be submitted, has to be examined, has to be evaluated. Finally, if the proposal is accepted, then our research can be conducted formally. Otherwise, we cannot start conducting research in a formal way. However, when you start writing a research proposal, what are the steps we must have to follow? For the first time, a research starts with a problem. Where there is no problem, there is no research. Research begins with a problem. So you have to find out a problem at first. What is a problem? A problem is an obstacle. A problem is an obstacle that hinders the progress of civilization from any corner of the civilization, from any part of the earth, from any component of the human life. If there is an obstacle which is hindering the progress of the human life, can be called a problem. It may be in the field of language, it may be in the field of literature, it may be in the field of human psychology. It may be in the field of finance. It may be in the field of physics or chemistry or biology or anthropology or philosophy or religion or whatever it is, or a business or cartoon or music or dance. Problem is an obstacle that hinders the progress of the civilization. So first we have to select a title, a topic. What is the topic? The problem is given a name. You first find out a research problem and give the problem a name, which is called the title of your research. So you have to select a topic. Selecting topic is a very important step. At the very beginning, we have to select the topic. Where can we get the research problem? Where can we get the research topic from? Research problem can be found out from our environment, from reading of the daily newspaper, because every day you are finding different kind of problems are reported in the newspaper. Research problem can be found out from the encyclopedia. Research problem can be found out from the recent dissertations, thesis, and the most recent research articles which have been published in some journal. Go through the texts of the research journal, go through the texts of the research articles, and find out what are the subject matters with which people are too much busy now, where people are throwing light on, and you can choose and select a good research problem. Without finding out the research problem, you cannot select the research topic or the title. And without concentrating, without understanding, without comprehending, without getting a good research title, you cannot go ahead. So please, first choose a good research title. Look around your environment, go through the journals, go through the articles, go through the newspapers, go through the encyclopedia, go through your textbooks, go through your own, go through the text which you go through in your pastimes, during your pastimes. Especially, we have to consider our own interest, on which field you are interested, which field impresses you much more, which field actually gives you more pleasure, in which field you want to explore and swim into, and you want to drown into, and you want to enjoy. Feel that also, consider that also. So you can choose a topic. After selecting a research topic, research is sharing. Share more and more and more with your friends, with your colleagues, with your seniors, with the senior fellows, with the researchers, etc. Share more and more, break down the topic, break it, transubstantiate it, transfer it, transform it, and give it finally a shape. The title is taken. Now you are going to start writing, concentrating on the title. The first, you begin with writing an introduction. The introduction section requires you to write only the hints. You just give some implications. You just imply what you are going to deal with, what problems you are going to explore into, what things you are going to do. Introduction section is very small in a proposal, not more than one para, and in which you just give some implications that these problems you are going to deal with. But now you are going to detail the problem at the second step, which is called the problem statement. Problem statement is the step in which we break down the main problem into some sub-problem. Break down the problem into some sub-problems. One problem is broken down into 2 or 3 sub-problems. And if you can again break down the sub-problem, every sub-problem into some sub-problems. Suppose there is a problem affecting speaking of English. Problems affecting speaking of English among the tertiary level students at the private university of Dhaka. Suppose this is our problem. Break it down into some sub-problems. The sub-problems are speaking of English as a skill. Another sub-problem is the person, the students who are belonging to the tertiary level, they are the learners. Another problem is the teachers who are teaching. Second, the third sub-problem is the materials. What materials the teachers are providing for speaking? What methods the teachers are providing for speaking? What techniques the teachers are using for teaching speaking? So there may be many sub-problems. The problem is the problem affecting speaking of the tertiary level students at the private university in Dhaka city. The sub-problem may be number 1, the learners, number 2, the materials, number 3, the teaching methods, number 4, the teaching techniques, number 5, the teaching people, the teachers, number 6, the congeniality of the atmosphere, so many things. So break down the problems into some sub-problems as much as possible, break it down and down and down, so that you can go deeper and deeper into the grassroots level of the problem. Then your problem statement is well described, well written. Don't use more than 10 to 15 sentences to describe these things, because you are writing only a proposal. When you will write the main research work, main thesis, then it will be elaborated and well elucidated and much expanded and widespread, but not now in the proposal level. Use 15 sentences or 20 sentences to expand the problem in detail, break it down into some sub-problem, break the sub-problem into some sub-problems. And then you will get another step in which you will see that all the research sub-problems are already taken out, and some questions are arising in your mind automatically. For example, why the students are not speaking? A parrot can speak English in 3 months training. A parrot. A monkey can learn how to listen to English and respond in English in 3 weeks. But why the Homo sapiens? Reading, listening, speaking, writing for long 12 years, from class 1 up to intermediate, second year, then honors, first year, second year, third year, final year, still they are not being able to speak. Where is the problem? Is the problem with the environment? Is the problem with the teaching methods? Is the problem with the learning method? Is the problem with the material? Is the problem with the environment? This kind of questions will arise in your mind. These are called research questions. When you elaborate the problem statement, then automatically some research questions will arrive. After raising the research questions, you go into the world of literature. Literature is a confusing word here. Don't think it is literature like English literature or Bangla literature. Literature stands for whatever is related to the research work, whatever content is related to the research work is the literature. It may be a thesis, it may be a book, it may be a theory, it may be a dissertation, it may be a journal, it may be an article, all are called literature. After raising some questions, which are called the research questions, you can explore the literature. Literature, that means certain books, certain journals, certain articles, certain dissertations, certain theories, certain axioms, certain postulates related to your research problem. Why literature review? Number one, there are two purposes, very important. Number one, literature review is very important because when you review the literature, you will be familiarized with the field of this knowledge, with the field of your unknown world where you are exploring. Who are the theoreticians? Suppose you are going to do a research work on English language teaching. You are being familiarized with David Noonan, being familiar what David Noonan says about syllabus design, what Mundy said, what uh, what Taba has said, what Kennel has said, or what Kazamiya has said about William Shakespeare, or what Dr. Johnson said about William Shakespeare's being a classic. Whatever it is, the field, if you want to conduct a research, you must to go through the literature review. Literature review stands for the earlier research works related to your research field. First, you become familiar with the theories, axioms, postulates, and laws related to your field. Who are the masters of the field in which you are going to conduct the research? You have to know them. So review and be familiar with them. The second thing is more important than the first one. The second is that you have to find out some hiatus. Hiatus. The very word hiatus stands for knowledge gaps or research gaps. You review the researcher, you review the thesis of your previous researchers, earlier researchers, senior researchers. Suppose around you there is Dr. Jasimuddin, there is Dr. Mohshin Reza, there is Dr. Professor Anwar Hussain Sir, there are many more doctors are there. You are reviewing all of their literature, and then you are saying that I have explored around my neighboring researchers, my senior researchers, researchers of my country, researchers of these fields. I have found a lot of things in their research works, but this particular thing was not found in their work. That particular thing is missing from Dr. Mohshin. That particular thing is missing from the thesis of Dr. Jasimuddin. This particular knowledge is missing from Dr. Johurul Islam. So if these knowledge gaps are found out, then your research proposal will give a promise that my research is going to be conducted to fill up these research gaps or knowledge gaps, which are called hiatus. My research will fill up this knowledge gap. Some new knowledge will be originated, some new knowledge will be created, and some new knowledge will be added to the existing body of the knowledge of the world, and thus my research will contribute to the civilization, my research will contribute to the mankind, my research will contribute to the entire human society. And that is the main justification of my research. So without literature review, we cannot find out the knowledge gap. And without filling up the knowledge gap, without generating the new knowledge, without adding the new knowledge to the existing body of knowledge, there is no research possible. So literature review first familiarizes you with the world in which you are exploring for the first time. And secondly, it is giving you a chance to find out the hiatus, find out the knowledge gaps, and fill up the hiatus, and thus contribute to the entire humankind, contribute to the entire civilization by creating and originating some new knowledge and replacing the older knowledge with your new knowledge. Thus, newer and newer body of knowledge is being erected over the universe. So literature review is a very important thing. After reviewing the literature, you can certainly set up some particular research questions. Suppose we are saying about the problems affecting speaking of the tertiary level students already. Suppose your question may be that what are the major problems of our tertiary level students in being habituated and fluent to speak always in English? This may be number one question. Number two question, maybe, are there any problems in the teaching methods? Are there any problems in the learning methods? Are there any problems in the atmosphere? Are there any problems in the techniques? Are there any problems with the materials, etc.? So with the review and with the research question, now we have to set the research objective. Research objectives are of two kinds. Number one, the general objective. Number two, specific objectives. The general objective tells what is your overall goal to discover by this research, what the research mainly want to obtain, what the research mainly want to see, what the research, what the overall desire of the research to find out. And the specific objectives stand for the sub-problems. That means the general objective will address the main problem, which you have already broken down into some 2 or 3 sub-problems. In the same way, general objective will address the main problem, and specific objectives will address the sub-problems. And remember, while you will be really conducting a research work, each of the specific objective will be developed into a particular chapter of your thesis. Suppose in your research there is a general objective, there may be 3, 4, or 5 specific objectives. If there are 5 research objectives, specific objectives, there will be 5 chapters in your thesis. If there are 3 specific objectives, there will be 3 chapters, excluding introduction and concluding chapters. So the more are the specific objectives, more are the chapters. The entire thesis will deal with the entire research problem. The main problem is addressed by the general objective, and the main problem is broken down into some specific problems or sub-problems, and each of the sub-problems is addressed by each of the specific objective, and each of the specific objectives will be evaluated as a particular chapter, and all the specific objectives will be developed into all the chapters of your thesis, of your dissertation. So the third step is setting the research goal, the research objective, general objective and specific objective. After setting the general and specific objectives, we have to set the rationale or justification of the research. What is rationale? Rationale or justification is the logic of your ongoing research. Why are you conducting this research? You have to prove that your research problem is really problematic. It is really an obstacle, and really due to this obstacle, there are some problems occurring over the civilization. Some people, some mankind, or the part of the human community or the part of the society is being affected due to these problems, and conducting research, there is the chance of getting new idea, new knowledge, new concept, new theories, new axiom, new law to remove the darkness of ignorance and enlight the place and remove the obstacle from the society. So your rationale the very part is very much important, justification. In this section, you have to logically prove that my research will find out some new knowledge, and the new knowledge will be helpful for the mankind. And it is logical, it is never emotional, it is never biased, it is never partial. There is no emotion, but only the logic. So the reasons as to why you want to conduct the research should be there. You have to prove that your problem is really problematic. Your research problem is really researchable. Your research problem is really a problem which has to be sourced out and found out and discovered or uncovered, and under which there may be some new knowledge. There may be some gold there. You have to find them out. So after setting the research objectives, we are going to set the rationale or justification of the research. Rationale is set. We have to set up the research methodology. Rationale stands for why the research is being conducted. And the methodology stands for how the research will be conducted. And objective wants to say what, the purpose of your research. Three things, please remember. Number one, the objective tells us what we are going to do, what are the purposes of conducting this research. Rationale says why we are doing it. Why should be answered by rationale. Logically, it would be answered. And research methodology will be giving the answer to the question of how. How will it be conducted? How the research will be conducted? And that is why this how or the research methodology is called the brain to the entire research work. Methodology is the brain to the entire research work. In this part, at first we have to describe what nature does our research belong to. There are two things. One is the research nature, and there is the research typology. Nature, there may be two kinds of research or three kinds of research in nature. Number one, some research works are based on quantity, like numerical number, like an amount of money, like a number of people, and this kind of research works are called quantitative research. Quantitative research is the systematic empirical investigation of observable phenomena. It is done through statistical, mathematical, or computational techniques. They are called quantitative research, which are widely used in psychology and in mathematics, in economics, demography, sociology, marketing, community health, health and human development, gender studies, etc. They measure the height of something, they measure the depth of something, they measure the average of something. They actually measure something, they attempt to measure. This kind of research is called quantitative in nature. On the other hand, there is some research which deals with the human mind, arts, thoughts, ideas, philosophies, concepts, like literature, history, philosophy, religion. This kind of research deals with the qualities, different qualities of humanism, humanistic qualities. And this kind of research works are called qualitative in nature. So research methodology at first describes to which nature our ongoing research belongs to. I am going to conduct research work to find out the problems affecting speaking of the tertiary level students of private university in Dhaka city. Suppose I'm going to conduct this research work. So here is a problem that some of my students are shy. They don't love to speak in English before my face. When I am absent from the classroom, then they are speaking among themselves. But when I enter the classroom, they don't love to speak because sir is there. They feel inferiority. Inferiority, shyness, these are qualitative elements. But again, when I mark them, then I can measure the depth and height of their speaking. So there are difficult situations in which both quality and quantity are entangled together, and in such kind of situation, we can call the research is a mixed research, combination of qualitative and quantitative research. So in nature, there may be three kinds of research: qualitative research, quantitative research, and combined research or mixed research. There are different research methods also. For qualitative research, there are different qualitative methods. For quantitative research, there are different quantitative methods. And for the mixed research, there are mixed methods. These are the sects called nature of the research. Research methodology section at first describes the nature of the ongoing research. Suppose you got admitted to a university in MPhil program or PhD program conducting the research work, you have to describe here in methodology section at first that what nature does your research belong to. Secondly, you have to classify what typology does your research belong to, the typology. There are different typologies. Some research will reveal different social situations are called descriptive research. Some research which explores into abstractions and finds out different concepts, ideas, philosophies are called explorative research. Some research which conducts experimentation over a controlled group and find out the differences between the general people and the controlled people, experimental research. Some research which explains different cause and effect relationships are called explanatory research. Some research evaluates the ongoing processes of something. Any kind of ongoing processes are called evaluative research. So in typology, your research may be descriptive, your may be research exploratory, your may be research experimental, your research may be explanatory, your research may be evaluative. So in this section, at first, in methodology section, we have to clarify that what kind of research I am conducting on, what kind of research my ongoing study belongs to, what kind of nature it is, and what kind of typology does it belong to. That means typologically, my research may be descriptive. Suppose you are going to conduct the research on problems affecting speaking of the tertiary level students. It will reveal different psychological and the social situations. It will also reveal different causes and different effects as to why the students are not being able to speak English after getting lessons for long 12 to 14 years, though the parrot can speak in the same language only after 3 months training. So there may be a combination of explanatory and exploratory and descriptive research. Most of the research works are combined. Most of the research works are mixed. Most research works are combined, especially ELT research works. English language teaching research works are mainly, they are combination of qualitative and quantitative, as well as they are a combination of descriptive and explanatory. Sometimes they also become experimental. So in methodology section, at first we have to talk about what nature my research belongs to and what typology my research belongs to. This is the first 2 steps. Secondly, we have to logically set some research methods for data collection. This is the main part of the methodology. Methodology sets some research methods for collecting data. There are different kinds of methods. Some methods are qualitative methods, some methods are quantitative methods. For example, survey. Survey method can be explained as questioning individual on a topic or topics on describing the responses. It is used in order to test different concepts, reflect attitude of people, and conduct segmentation research and a set of other purposes. Survey method can be used both in quantitative as well as in qualitative research works. Survey is a research method through which it is a very popular method because it is highly time-saving. In a single moment, within 10 minutes, we can conduct survey over 1 million of people if some volunteers are available, if volunteers help us. In 1 minute, 100 people can be surveyed. 1 million people can also be surveyed very easily. Survey is a method. Observation. Physically, you have to go there, go to the school, go to the college, find out how the teaching and learning processes are going on in the classroom, how teacher is teaching, what methods he is he's using, what techniques he's using, what materials he's using, what atmosphere he's creating, what is the condition of the interactions. You are physically observing and getting the first-hand data. Observation. Observation is another method. Another method is interviewing. You are talking to Kazamiya. You are talking to Professor Ali Anwar, an expert of William Shakespeare, Professor Shiajul Islam Chaudhary, or Kabir Chaudhary, an expert in William Shakespeare, or in Oedipus, or in Sophocles. Or you are talking to Dr. Shahidullah, an expert in ELT, talking to Dr. Monirujjaman, an expert in ELT, and getting the ideas face to face. Sometimes you are conducting in-depth interviews. You are interviewing students, you are interviewing teachers, you are interviewing parents, you are interviewing guardians, you are interviewing administrators, the head of the department, interviewing the dean of the faculty. So interview can be another method. What other methods can we use? In social science research works, we mainly use different kinds of methods. For example, number 1, survey. Number 2, observation. Number 3, we conduct focus group discussion, or FGD. First, focus group discussion is another excellent method for collecting first-hand data. During focus group discussion, you can sit with the respondents, sit with the participants, and talk to them very much informally. You have to go through an ice-breaking session through which you will familiarize them, and you will break down their inhibition, break down their hesitation, and finally you will get them very much familiar with you and tell them that today you are not getting a meeting with them, rather you are just having some personal, informal sharing of your feelings. You have come to conduct research work in their university, and the respondents have helped you, so you are just talking to them over a cup of tea for thanking them and for going from departing. Before departure, you were just at a moment of giving them thanks, offering them thanks. By telling different kind of informal activities, just cool down their nervous system, make them familiarized. Otherwise, they will not be relaxed. Their nervous system will not be able to leak out the secret information that you actually require. During inhibition, they will not give you that information. But when during the focus group discussion, you are more familiarized with them, more befriended with them, more informal with them, they will give you some core information which would be very much required in your research work. Through focused group discussions, you are talking to them in an indiscriminate way, but you have a certain focus on certain themes and sub-themes. Some answers are required. So in a pre-planned way, you are going to meet them, sit with them, talk to them. They will think that you are gossiping with them, but you are an investigator. You are investigating, collecting the investigations, because you are a detective. But they will see you only as a friend, but you will use your brain as a detective. So through focused group discussion, we can also get a lot of information. Focused group discussion is a good method in social science research work. Survey is a good method in social science research work. Observation is a good method in social science research work. And besides that, we can conduct content analysis method or document analysis method. Content or document analysis method, if you conduct research work on religion, you have to go through the book of Kedarnath Tiwari to read the book of Hinduism, go through the book of Buddhism, go through the book of Christianity, go through the book of Judaism, go through the book of Islam. You have to go through the holy scriptures, documents after documents, contents after contents. You are exploring, and you are analyzing different kinds of documents. Without documents, you have nothing to do. You can't interview any prophet because no prophet is living any longer. You cannot conduct any survey. You have no way, because you are conducting a research on comparative religion. Yes, you can interview. You can interview some big shots of, from different universities, like for example, like Al-Azhar University or Mecca University or Medina University, where different or University of Tehran, different professors, veteran professors of comparative religions are there. You can interview them. Otherwise, you cannot interview the sage like Saint Paul or Saint Peter or Buddha or Mahavir Maheswara or Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu nobody. So you have to conduct content analysis method. You are doing a research work on William Shakespeare. You cannot survey. You have no way to observe. You have no way to conduct any testing methodology, any testing method. You have only to explore through the texts. So content analysis method or document analysis method is another important method for the qualitative research works. Testing method is another one, which is important for ELT research work, especially for language teaching, not for linguistics. Through different kind of proficiency tests, different kind of testing, like a diagnostic test or proficiency test. Different kind of tests can be applied to find out the student's status of their language proficiency, their ability to use the language, and their present status in the certain language. We can conduct the testing method as well. So testing, document analysis, survey, observation, focus group discussion, or content analysis, this can be the most common methods we can use when we are preparing a research proposal. Now we have to note that every method has certain tools or instruments or apparatus. Survey is the method. What is the tool or instrument or apparatus? Questionnaire is the tool or apparatus. If fishing is the method of my life, I want to live on fishing, then the fishing rod, the fishing line, the nets are the tools of my livelihood. If agriculture is the method of my life, then the plow, the tractor are the tools. I cannot catch fish with a tractor. And I cannot catch a bird with a fishing rod. So if we use wrong tools, we will go to catch a fish with a tractor, and we will go to shoot a bird with a fishing line. That is why for certain method, certain tools can be used. For example, for survey, if the survey is the method, the tool is, or the instrument is called questionnaire, number one. Observation is the method. Checklist is the tool or instrument or apparatus. For observation, checklist. If focused group discussion, FGD, if FGD is the method, there is an abstract questionnaire in your mind, because during focus group discussion, the participants are sitting around you, very friendly, in a friendly atmosphere. They don't know that you have some certain questions in your brain, and with a lot of talks, with a lot of gossipings, you have kept secretly your questions. All on a sudden, your question would come out and pick up the secret information out of their psychology. And so there is also some certain tools used by your brain. Abstract questionnaire. Sorry. Interview is the method. Is there any tool? Yes. Number one, there is an abstract questionnaire. Before you come to me, you have already set some questions that what I am going to ask this person. Before coming to me, you have already set some questions in your brain. So some abstract questions are already existing in your mind, number one. Number two, when you are talking to me very relevantly, very relatively, you will find out certain questions which will automatically arise in your mind, and you will ask the questions. So tools will be used here very much abstractly. But one tool can be always concretely used during interview, which is a recorder. through a mobile phone, you can record the interview. The mobile phone can be used as a recorder. You can also make a videography. It can also be a tool. You can also use a camera. It can also be used as a tool. You can also take some short pictures, still pictures, some short snaps. And these shots will also be used as tools during the interview. For proficiency test, for diagnostic test, for different kind of testing, you have to use some test papers. You have to prepare the test papers. When you are recording my voice, when you are recording my interview, if your recorder is not working, if your recorder is not reliable, can it work? Can it help my research work? I think it cannot help. If the recorder cannot record all the words, some words are audible, some words are not audible, the record is broken, some words are broken, some words are half audible, then I think that it is not reliable, it is not a valid interview actually. That's why you should remember that all the research instruments for survey, questionnaire, for checklist, for observation, the tools is checklist. For interview, the tools is camera or recorder or mobile phone, whatever it is. For testing, the tools are test papers. But we have to ensure reliability and validity of every instrument or tool or apparatus before we use them, apply them in any particular research work. All the research instruments have to be proved that they are reliable and they are valid. In questionnaire, you are going to ask questions to the students that why they are not being able to speak in English. But some of your questions are in Bangla in your question. Is it a reliable questionnaire? It cannot be a reliable questionnaire. Or it cannot be a valid questionnaire. You are going to test a student's ability in writing, but your question is coming from listening. It will be an invalid question. So the tools or the instruments of the apparatus must be valid, must be reliable. Reliability and validity tension is a very interesting subject matter of the research work. So these two things should be always maintained when we set the questionnaire, when we set the when we frame out the structured questions for the focus group discussions, or whenever we set the checklists for any observation, they must maintain the reliability and the validity. However, where are we going to collect the data? Where are we going to conduct the survey? Where are you going to conduct the observation? Where are you going to conduct the tests? Certainly you are going to some people. Who are the people? These people are called population. Population in research work. In quantitative research, there is population. In qualitative research, also there is population. For example, you are conducting a research on feminism in William Shakespeare, a qualitative research work. What is the population here? The population is here. How many books will you choose to find out Shakespeare's feministic elements or colonialism or post-colonialism in William Shakespeare, or colonial elements in William Shakespeare? Maybe a qualitative research work. Is there any population? Yes. Still there are population. Who can be the population? His books, his texts can be, even his sonnets, even his poems can be the population. How many books are you going to select? They are the people. Tempest, you are taking the Tempest. Suppose you are taking Macbeth. Suppose you are taking Hamlet. Suppose you are taking Twelfth Night. Suppose you are taking William Shakespeare's As You Like It. Suppose these 5 drama are taken. So these 5 drama are the population, and exploring through this population, you will find out different elements of colonialism or post-colonialism or feminism, whatever it is. But if it is quantitative research work, suppose we are going to see the problems affecting the speaking of the tertiary level students at the private universities in Dhaka cities. If we go to do this research work, this is a mixed research work in which both quality and quantity are available. Here we have to get certain population, and upon the population we have to conduct the research work. We have to survey the certain people, we have to test certain people, we have to observe certain people, we have to interview certain people, and then we have to draw the inferences. So who are the population? Population is called the people who will participate in your research work for giving you the data, information. These people are called the population. There are lots of private universities in Dhaka city, nearly 100, suppose 100. It is not possible to conduct research work on 100 private universities and 1 million students of those universities. It is not possible. So how to conduct the research work in a systematic way? Research is systematic. Research is too much specific. Research is too much scientific. Yes, we have to employ a process through which we can select some from this large population. The system is called sampling. In a quantitative research, we must have some participants, we must have some respondents from a group of selected people, and these selected people are called the sample for our research. What is a sample? A sample is a small representative part for a big population. For example, we are cooking rice. Whether the rice is boiled or half boiled or not at all, we need to test it at first. To testify the rice, we have to pick 1 or 2 pieces of rice, not the entire body of the pots of the rice. We just take 1 or 2. These are the sample. We are taking them randomly. But when it is human being, then human being are not rice. So there are different procedures. We can, sometimes just random sampling can apply, sometimes purposive sampling can apply, sometimes frequency distribution sampling can apply, sometimes logistic regression can apply. So samples should be taken very much systematically, mathematically, and statistically. Otherwise, there would be wrong information. If the samples must be representative. If I want to see the problems affecting speaking of the private university students in Dhaka cities, I have to take some samples. If I take some students from Northern University only, it may not prove that it is the status of the entire population who are called private university students of Bangladesh. They may not be possible. But I can also say that, yes, I can prove that only conducting a research work on some students of Northern University, I can prove that they can be the good representative of the entire country of Bangladesh. There may be 2 ways. There are always 2 ways. You have to logically prove it. Suppose we say that Northern University is not the best university of the country. Everybody will say, yes, I agree with this. I agree with your statement. If I say that Northern University is not the worst university of the country, do you agree with me? And many people will raise their hands and say that, yes, Northern University is never the worst university of the country. So Northern University is remaining on the middling position. It is the representative position. It is not belonging to the highest level, not belonging to the lowest level. So it is in the mid-level, a midway university. So it can be representative. alone Northern University or including 2 or 3 other universities of the same levels, of the same rank of Northern University can be a good representative bunch of population. On the other hand, you can also simplify your population with more scientific and more logical reasons. Take some sample from North-South University, take some sample from BRAC, take some from Northern, take some university from Southeast, take some university from Darul Ihsan, take some from Otish Dipankar, take some university from America Bangladesh University. That means touch all the categories and all the strata and say that from all classes of universities, I have got the representatives and I have in total 50 people upon which I am conducting the research, and these 50 people have come from the topmost to the lowest ranking university. So they can be representative. Whatever we do, we must simplify our population. Population must be taken systematically through using different kind of sampling procedure. It may be random sampling, it may be purposive sampling, it may be frequency distribution, it may be logistic regression, and so many other things. So when we collect data from the population, the people are taken as samples. They are called representatives. They must be representative. They are called respondents. They are also called participants. In a research proposal, we must also add that who are our people and from which sources we have collected the data. Data sources must be clarified there, where you have got your data from. There can be 2 sources of data. One is the primary sources of data, and there is the secondary sources of data. Primary sources are immediate sources, the first-hand accounts of the topic from the people. Suppose you are conducting the research work on problems affecting speaking among the private university students. You have interviewed some students. All the data from the interview are called primary data. All the data from the interview with the teacher are primary data. All the data from the students' class test, primary data. All the data from students' answer sheet, primary data. That means primary data is the data originated from the real place of occurrence, where the things are happening. If we are getting the data directly from there, from the teacher, from the students, from the officer, from the admin, from the head of the department, from the dean, from the vice chancellor of the university, from the class test handouts of the class, from the answer scripts, from the test reports, the reports of the survey, primary data, reports of the classroom observation, primary data, reports of the class test, primary data, reports of the proficiency test, primary data. Then what are the secondary data? Secondary data are that which you, the researcher, you yourself did not gather. You have collected, you have read a book written by David Noonan. You have read and quoted some lines from David Noonan. David Noonan is your secondary data. You have written some sentences from the thesis of Dr. Jasimuddin, secondary data. You have used some journal, you have used some articles, the secondary data. So you must have to mention what data you are using, what are the secondary sources and what are the primary sources of your data. Then you have to set the data analysis process. You have already shown your population. You have shown how you have collected the people, how you have selected the people, what are your data sources, and what data you have gathered. Then now you have to analyze the data. If the data are quantitative, you can use different kinds of data analysis procedure. You can use a computer, you can use calculator, you can use mathematical tools like percentage, like averaging systems, 1, 2, 3, and so many things. But if it is a qualitative data, then you can go through logical interpretation. Through logical interpretation, one after another, all the phenomena are analyzed by you. But if it is quantitative, you must have to use statistical tools or the mathematical tools, because a research will be completely scientific, completely unbiased, its motto is to find out the truth, completely unbiased truth, impartial truth. So you have to set the data analysis procedure very scientifically. Then you have to also say that what data analyzing tools you are using. You may use MS Office, and you may use MS Excel, different kinds of computational elements for analyzing the data. Different kinds of tools you can use as well. But if it is qualitative, you can use another kind of tools like logics, like different concepts, different philosophies, different theories, different laws, different axioms, different postulates. Finally, you have to present the data. You have to say in the proposal that I will present all my data through different kind of tools. If it is a qualitative research, you can present the data through writing sentence one after another through the paragraphs, chapters after chapters. But if it is a quantitative research, you can use different kind of tools. You can use chart, pie chart, graphs, diagram, histogram, and so many things. And when all of your data are presented, then after presenting the data, you will infer, you will draw the inference. You will draw the inference, you will draw the result of your research. And here you will, as it is a research proposal stage, you will always be speaking in future indefinite form. And don't say that I will do it. You will say that the researcher will do it. You speak in a third person singular number. Don't say that I will do it. It is my work. It is me. No. You will say that the researcher will use these tools. The researchers will use these data presentation tools, these data analyzing tools, this data process will be maintained by the researcher, he or she. You will call yourself as he or she. Use third person singular number because of avoiding the biasness and because of proving the neutrality and objectivity and the reliability and the validity. Finally, you will say the significance or the expected outcome of your study. What the civilization will get out of your research, you have to tell it. What the country will get from your research, you have to tell it. What my students will get, what my university will get, what my society will get, what humanity will get, how will they be contributed, how will your research contribute? You have to say the expected outcome of your study. Not only that, you have to say the scopes and limitations of your study also. What are the scopes? Scopes means whatever you include, you can include in your study. Suppose you say that, sir, for conducting the research works of the problems affecting, speaking of private university students at tertiary level, my scopes are the students, my scopes are the universities where I can go, my scopes are the library, my scopes are the Library of Asiatic Society, my scopes are the libraries for secondary data, Asiatic Society, Jahangirnagar University English Department, Department of English of Dhaka University, Department of English of BUP, and so many other places and so many research organizations. These are my scopes where I can work. And my scopes are teachers, my scopes are guardians, my scopes are students, my scopes are admins. What are your limitations? Limitations are that it is never possible for a researcher to go beyond his own limit. If you are observing the problems affecting the speaking of the students, it may not be possible for you to see what problems are affecting the writing of the student at the same time. When you are watching the speaking, only get busy, get engaged with the speaking. Don't be busy with the listening problem, writing problem, speaking problem. Discard them. So limitations are that. My limitation is that I am my research. You can say that the present research is limited to finding out the problems affecting the speaking of the students. It will not see the problems affecting reading, listening, or writing. So scopes shows what we include and the limitations show what we actually exclude. Your research will also say the feasibility of your research. Is the research feasible? You have to prove that your research is feasible. The proposal should say that how much time, what is the time budget? How much time, suppose you are conducting an MPhil research, you will not be given more than 2 years, highest 3 years. You have to say month to month or day to day, by counting day to day, hour to hour, or month to month, that by this week I will do this part of the research, by that week, by that month I will do that part of the research, and by this date I will give the first seminar, by this date I will give the second seminar, I will offer the second seminar, and through by this way, by this duration I will complete my writing the thesis, and through this way and by this time I will finally publish my research work. You have to confirm. So you have to prove that the research is feasible. There are hurdles, lot of hurdles, and the non-cooperation movement during 2008, and when emergency was going to be imposed. And all the researchers of different institutions of the entire country were suffering. Research was not feasible. They could not come out of their house. They could not come out of their institutes. They could not go to the respondents. Respondents are not available. They cannot go to the field. So it will hamper. So there may be some problems, some obstacles also. You have to count all. You have to budget the time. You have to budget the money. How much money you will require. You will also say in the proposal. How much manpower you require, how many volunteers you require, how many books you have to buy, where you have to travel, and how many books you have to copy or Xerox. So the entire budget should be given there. And finally, your result will be, your proposal will be concluded through that way that it is a mere research proposal. It is still changeable, subject to the comments by the scholars, by the academicians, by the supervisor, by the senior researchers. Research proposal is always changeable. Don't be emotional. When you first write the research proposal, you will believe that it is the best research proposal of the world. But after 3 months, you yourself, when you are going back to read it, again, you will find a lot of faults with it. You will find a lot of spaces of improvement and a lot of places to develop. And then you will also feel shy that such a bad research proposal I have prepared. But before 3 months, I thought that it was the best research proposal of the world. So research proposal should not be emotional. It should be logically set up. It should be patiently handled and very carefully tackled. And research is sharing. Share with your supervisor, share with your friends, share with the fellow researchers, share with your seniors, share with all kinds of people who are involved with research works, and it will day by day develop. A research can develop for years. It will continue. After completing your conclusion, then you must have to set the references or the bibliography. References or the bibliography, you know that they are generally in an alphabetic order. The authors' names are written there in an alphabetic order, and the first name comes last, and the last name comes first, and the middle name goes into the middle. There are different kinds of style of references. Chicago style is there, MLA style is there, APA style is there, Harvard style is there, IPA style is there. It is up to the institution. The institution can prescribe you to do certain, to follow certain reference for styles. And through the references, you will prove that you have used this kind of secondary data for preparing this research proposal, and you have never done any kind of plagiarism. Whatever you have done, you have got the evidence from these kinds of documents. You have shown all the documents and the names of the authors, name of the researchers. You are just acknowledging that yes, I have used all of them. Use all of them and use all of the references, no problem, but don't use others' references with behaving in such a way that you are writing it. So plagiarism is a great scandal in the world of research, which must be avoided. And all of your references and the bibliographies, they are also great supporters to your research base. Finally, after the reference is given, you have to add the last part, which are called appendices or appendix. If certain elements are added, suppose when you were talking to a person who was interviewed by you, you have taken a snap, you have taken a picture, the picture can be added there. You are working on a certain syllabus of honors first year, the syllabus can be added in that very part, which is called appendices. Appendices is broken into different sections called appendix 1, appendix 2, appendix 3, appendix 4. And finally, you can also propose that my research will add an index. Index means all the important terminologies, page number wise, they are given at the back of the thesis. And finally, this appendix is this index is very much important because it is time saving, hugely time saving. Only at a glance, any person can see the number of the pages and find out different terminologies used in your thesis paper. So research proposal is always changeable. It is changeable subject to the comments of the academicians, of the scholars, and the senior researchers and the supervisors themselves. And through this way, we can develop a research proposal. Research proposal is just a step when we prepare ourselves to become a researcher. Before we do the research work, we just make a tentative research proposal. Research proposal is always tentative, it is always changeable, and it must be unbiased, must be neutral, and very much objective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Mohshin Reza. It was wonderful listening to you. Very comprehensive, very elaborate, and very, very, very compact as well. Within a very short space of time, you have elaborated everything what the students should know. And I also personally benefited a lot of things from your deliberation. I think, is there any questions from the students? Jashin?
Okay, sir. We're giving them the floor. If you have any questions, please, you can raise your voice. And at first, you should introduce yourself, dear colleagues and dear students. You can ask any question to our please.
Sir, this is Mohammad Shakaut Hussain, Assistant Professor, Department of English. I have a question to Mohshin sir. Sir, should I ask you the question right now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. Sir, generally, we see that in some literature research, there is no literature review or methodology segment mentioned in some research works on some English literature. There is no literature review segment, or there is no specific methodology segment mentioned. I have read some scholars' articles. So what is your opinion about this, sir? Is it mandatory to mention the literature review segment or other things like methodology?
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Motion is sir, please.
Sir, have you got my point, sir?
Dr. Reza.
Maybe there is something.
Dr. Reza, please. Motion is please. Can you
I
hear
think
us?
his line is flat.
Of course.
Okay, please, sir.
You have to give in the, his has been muted.
Sorry, sir. Without a research methodology, there is no research, and without literature review, there is no research gap. So literature review and methodology are mandatory. They must be there in any kind of research work. They must be there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Sir,
You know,
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ahmed Yusuf Atullah. I am a lecturer in Department of English, Northern University, Bangladesh. I have a lot of questions regarding the total design of the research. Now, the first question is about literature review. Now, you have said about hiatus, which is finding the knowledge gap while conducting a research. But I have seen in many research articles that the scholars, they have tried to prove a point using existing literature. I mean, the point, or while answering the research questions of his own research, he has used the references of existing literature. So how to distinguish between these two? I mean, finding the hiatus and also proving my point in my while proving my research questions or answering research questions. How to distinguish between these two?
Yes,
Or
we can distinguish. We can. Yes. I got your point. When the researcher is giving some references and trying to prove something, then he is actually going to tell you something new, and this new thing is actually filling up the hiatus with a new knowledge.
okay.
That is the adding of a new knowledge over the older body of the knowledge. Ultimately, he is actually filling up the hiatus.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And you have explained the methodology section very well. But as you have mentioned, in case of literature, we all face this kind of problem. What to write in the methodology section, especially when we do not have many specific ways of, ways to follow while doing the research. So, is there any obligation to write a certain or the methodology should contain certain word limits or like that? Because many of the institutions, many of the organizations, they demand that you have to write 400 words in the methodology section. So sometimes we as the students of literature face this difficulty to fill the 1800 words because we do not have an elaborated methodological approach to the research. So what should we do then?
Sometimes the limitations of the words are given there because some people write too much. Some people use too many words which are not necessary. That is why the limitation of a number is fixed there, that you can write down the methodology chapter within 800 words or 1000 words, but you should not go beyond that. But ultimately, in a methodology chapter, we must have to write some certain things, the entire plan, the plan design of the research, what methods I'm going to use, what techniques I'm going to use, whether I'm using some population or not, or if some people are there, what sample I am using, if sample is being used, what sampling procedure are being used, and when the data are coming, what data collection methods are being used, what data collection tools are being used, what data collection data analysis procedures are being maintained, and what data analyzing tools are being used. These are the compulsory things of the methodology, whether it is qualitative or whether it is quantitative. These things should be given there. As short as possible. There is no credit in writing too much. There is the credit of writing very simple and very easy, but the thing should be there appropriately and reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Last question. Thank you very much. Last question is, sometimes we might select a research topic. For example, I have chosen a research topic on a particular subject, but as I have found out that no existing literature is available on that particular topic, or I am in short of existing literature. So what should I do in that cases? In those cases?
If there is no existing literature, please don't venture to go to conduct that kind of research work, because without literature, without reviewing the literature, you will be in a nothingness, and you will not find out any hiatus, and you will not be able to create any base of knowledge, any knowledge base. And that is why to select a good topic is 50% of the research work. You have to select such a topic for conducting the research work with which you will not be in suffering of data. Availability of the data is a precondition of the research work.
Okay,
consider the topic.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask you all, you should not ask more than one question, and this is the last question we will allow. Please, anyone? If you have any questions, this is the last question. I think not. Okay.
Okay. So, okay, sir. Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Mohshin Reza. Now, I would like to invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Sir, please deliver your speech as chief guest. And as you have already heard from the keynote speaker, he has explained in details on how to write, how to design a research proposal. So I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Anwar Hussain.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jassim. Honorable speaker, Dr. Mohshin Reza. And in fact, he has already given a very comprehensive, very elaborate, and very informative, way of how to write a research paper. This has not only helped our students how to write, also how to conduct research as well, I would say, because it was very much lengthy and very much what we say, how to do all kinds of tips, all kinds of issues have been addressed. And I don't think he has left anything left for me to talk about. Except because I'm a sociologist, I would like to talk about on participation, the methodology part, the participant observation. That if we are going to study the Chakma community or the tribe or the Murong tribe, then how do we get the information from them or the data from them? There are ways of observing there, but one form of anthropological research or anthropological study or method is to participant observation. You become one of the members of the community, stay with them for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and you get the deep understanding of the community, of the culture, of the tradition, of the beliefs and the rituals, and then write down your research paper. It could be the case study, what we use very much in business and also for the law school, the case studies. In fact, if there is a business house, very good product which is being sold like a hot cake in the market. So that would be a very elaborate case study. Or there could be other business case studies through which we can understand the process of marketing, process of the production, management, and all kinds of issues. These are also part of the research. Then we can also talk about the applied research, I think, where you can have a direct goal or specific objective to help a particular issue and come up with a solution to a particular problem where the research is applied. So there are some fundamental researches which are done for science sake, but there are also specific researches. Now we address them to certain thing or solve a problem. Every research is solving a problem, but that is much more geared to business purpose or social purpose or medical purpose, physical purpose, that purpose is way of doing things. So the issue is really very, very big, but I'm really impressed that Dr. Mohshin Reza has taken so much trouble in organizing everything in such a details that I think this was very illuminating for the English students. They have learned a lot and they have gone much more informed. And I hope right now they are already ready to write a research proposal. They will not have any problem in writing it because they have get so many information from his deliberation. And it is already late. I don't want to add anything more, but because the time is already too much, I think the tolerance level of listening has been already passed by the audiences. So I would like to thank Dr. Mohshin Reza once again for giving us so much time for this particular program. And I would request him that even in some other venture, you should come and enlighten us and our students and our colleagues on any other specific issue that you like to contribute. Because I think that you have started with such a, the basic, the Adam and Eve, and already come down to the very modern SPSS package and others. That was quite a millennia to pass on.
Thank you, sir.
But in such a short spell of time. That's really great. I was really impressed. And I would like to thank Jassim for organizing this particular discussion, especially which is very beneficial. And this is something that Northern University of Bangladesh is going to do. Because of the pandemic, we cannot have a face-to-face discussion session. I would have loved to see Dr. Mohshin Reza personally in the auditorium where he'll be lecturing to our students and faculty members. Maybe next time when the situation normalizes and the new normal is over, we can go
Sir.
back to the normal, or normal, then we can possibly organize that and arrange that. And with this
Sure,
viewers,
sir.
I thank once again all of you for
Thank you, sir.
bearing with us and giving me this privilege to listen to such a very, very interesting topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Allah
sir.
Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Thank you, everyone. So I think we can conclude our session here. And obviously, Department of English, Northern University of Bangladesh will remember Professor Dr. Mohshin Reza forever as for his valuable speech and $1 million discussion he has done today. And again, I'm very much thankful to him. Okay, thank you, everyone. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.